What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE mobile game, WWE Champions mobile game.
Yeah. The
We're having a
only
fun,
WWE mobile game that matters. Ooh,
we're already
shots
having fun
fired, and I mean
today.
it.
I'm Coco Beware, and with me as always, Owen Hart. We are high energy. What's up, Lee?
Hey, Birdman, how you doing?
Do you remember High Energy? That
I do
funny
not.
that so Owen and Coco wore like domino checkered like headbands and like
Yeah,
neon baggy pants, and I
with
think
the
that's it.
checkerboard pattern. That I do
Right.
know. I have
Yeah,
seen
terrible.
videos about them, but fun fact about me, I didn't watch wrestling when Owen Hart wrestled at all. I have never in my
Mhm.
life watched an Owen Hart match.
He's great. He was a workhorse. He was well loved. He was a family man, and so much more. You probably see all of the things kind of behind the scenes on him.
Yeah, and
Everybody
I know the
loved
obvious
Owen.
the tragedy and unfortunate reality there.
Yeah,
So,
and everybody loved the guy. And he didn't really want to be on the road. He was ready towards the end of the Attitude Era to just hang it up and be at
hmm,
home, raise his kids. And so, unfortunately, that
sad.
tragedy struck um, at a terrible time where he was
Right.
in the latter stages of basically retirement. So,
Wow. I didn't know
um,
that.
well, that's a somber note to start with, but
Right.
they were a fun tag team to remember.
I
And
loved Coco Beware. He was one of my favorites. I'd do this when I was a kid
yeah,
as he was coming to the ring, and then
yeah.
Frankie, the parrot, whatever he was.
Yeah,
So
big macaw parrot, I believe. So
yeah,
Lee, I've got some burning questions. We don't have a lot of show notes today, which means
some
we have the
penicillin for that.
chance to have kind of an organic, impromptu conversation.
Ooh,
And I've got. Let me ask. I'll ask the first question. That's a segue to the second. But
okay.
here's my. This is my take, but I'm going to ask it in the form of a question. Is the
Thank you,
final
Alex.
boss that now he's been the Mr. Drama this month? Is the final boss, The Rock, the best free superstar the community has ever received?
Ooh. I think you're going to catch flack for calling him free. I think many of the free to play are still struggling to get him, although a larger portion of the community than used to max the old format has gotten him. So I
More
would agree that he is relatively achievable through grinding.
right.
Is he the best? Well, I mean, I think Striker Bradshaw is probably still arguably better. And if you got him in the oopsie bag, you've got
Oh,
that. I think post 99 MP, the triple yellow will still work, but it's a little bit high charge. But I do think he fills a slot on a lot. Like if you don't have Nation of Domination Rock, he's your best rock by a landslide.
the
And he
Rock
might be
is
your best striker.
always required. The Rock is always
Always required.
required.
Yeah.
Um,
Anawai, he could be your best Anawai if you don't have Fatu, if you don't have some of the more rare Romans. I mean, he fills a lot of boxes. So I would say anybody who got him, regardless of your roster, he was worth the chase.
right.
But I would say, the bigger your roster is, the less likely he is that he's your top guy or in that top category, but he's still
Right.
fun. He's A tier and he fits A tier perfectly. He does exactly what
Very
an A tier
fun.
should do.
Yeah, he's very, very fun. I
Yeah.
I, I thought he was a cheat code in the Flash feud. I was just
Oh
one
yeah.
click, health stealing everything, plus the perks.
Yes.
So
Very good.
I'm 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 leaning towards a few thoughts about Final
Okay.
Boss. One, considerably more free to play players got Final Boss than got Razar.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed with a bullet.
considerably more free to play players will max this MLC than the last one we saw with
Agreed.
Razar. So Final Boss acquisition doesn't necessarily translate into maxing, right? So
Right.
those
Different
used to be
things.
one synonymous category. Now it's two. But that leads to my next question, Lee. Um, I'm gonna give my hot take. So my take was yes, I think, or a case could be made that Final Boss Rock is the best superstar that's been given to us for free. When I say given, that also includes achievable through active gameplay, right?
Right.
So achievable through the free to play grinders that are in our faction, I believe all have them or are a few shards away and will get him.
Yes.
So here's my second question. Lee, um, was this the best MLC we've ever had?
Like how you form your answers in the form of a question, Trebek.
I'm giving my take in the form of a question and asking you
I
to
know.
either agree or disagree. I would say this is up there
Yeah.
with 7th anniversary. This is up there with now most people don't
Zombie
remember it
month.
this way. Last October's zombie event was actually one of the most difficult, frustrating MLCs until the medallion
Oopsie.
situation manifested. And then suddenly it was, this is incredible. It was not. It went from to boop.
Yep.
I think this
Yep.
MLC has been great the whole time. I think it's been fun the whole time. I think the loot has been interesting, but also not. I think there's been less of a sense of FOMO, only having 4 superstars and incrementally recruiting them or working on their shards all month. I think the midweek contests have been surprisingly engaging. This week-long contest with the plates is just a home run for every category of the game: spender, grinder, not a spender. So question to you is: can a case be made? Now you don't have to make a sweeping generalization, right? You don't have to say this is the best ever, but could a case be made that this is one of the best, if not the best MLC ever?
I think if the oopsie poopsie with The Rock hadn't happened early on, that people would be praising this a lot more. And I think that
Right.
in hindsight, we will, because a lot of the people who got The Rock taken away now have him, and they've, not that it didn't hurt, but they've settled in themselves that that's the way it had to go, or at least that it is the way that it went. But yeah, a couple things. One, Gerson actually pointed out in one of our conversations that if you were to go back to the 6-star silver meta, getting one single 6-star silver token when they first came out literally cost you like $200, and you didn't get them for weeks, to where the average person in the community, aside from IOW and Hall of Fame, didn't have a 6-star silver character for 2 to 3 months. And that's like on the aggressive side of things. We saw and are seeing a deluge. I actually, and I've been careful to say this, hopefully Scopefully doesn't hear it. I'm like, I actually wonder if they're giving away too much.
Oh, hey, whoa,
Giving
there's
away
not,
too
that's no such thing.
much.
There's no such thing. First of all,
I
Lee,
disagree.
get
I
out,
want the game to
out
be fun and a
here.
chase. So if I
Get
get too
out of
many,
here.
if it's too easy, it's not quite as fun. But I do think that they're going to tighten up the tokens after this month, like the big drop initially, and then it'll start to trickle a little bit more. And I think that's the right plan.
Couple of things I've never gotten in my life. I've never gotten too many kisses. I've never gotten too much money, and I've never had too much fun. All right. So when it comes to 6-star gold tokens, I'm okay with what they're given. All right.
Yeah.
And the community is as well. And if that means them getting more kisses and more money and more fun, we want them to get all that stuff, right?
Right. Oh my
I've also
goodness. But
never
yeah,
had too
I
much
really
ice
like, and
cream. That's
I
another. I've never had too much ice cream either.
oh,
So,
I have. I've found out later in my life that I'm lactose intolerant. So ice cream is, it's It's actually a calculated risk anyway. But the other thing is that they didn't do in previous metas like this or previous months, the fact that they lined up the new leagues with the new gold drop, with the new format of the MLC, like all of that added a lot to it. Because while I breezed through most of League 22, aside from, I can't feud on Sundays, so I missed 94 feud matches that I need to go to League 23. Once I get to League 23, that opens up the tour for me. It keeps opening up more to do. And that right there is what I 100% am excited about. Plus, as content creators, now Merrick's mentioned we're recording this on a Thursday, so his Tuesday stream as of recording mentioned, it's harder for us because now we have to drop a lot of content day one functionally, and we don't
Yeah.
get the weekly views. But for us, that worked out really well. I'm not afraid of working on content. Not that he is either, but
You
you know
are
what I mean.
actually a content robot. Most people don't realize this. Um, you make more videos than I can even think about wanting to make within a month. So I might
It's
think, oh,
true.
I'd like to make this video, and you're like, oh, I made that 3 weeks ago.
Uh,
No,
just tell me, say, hey, I'm thinking I might make that one, and I'll stay off of it. But
I'm being facetious, of course.
right.
Um,
Well, and we had a really good month with these should I take blank 6-star golds. Although, public apology, I did not run a couple of the characters the best way, and I took some
right,
heat for that, and I deserve it. But
right.
at the same time, there are over 600 characters in the game, and each one has at least 3 to 5 move sets. So you're talking
Yeah.
thousands of possibilities. So if I missed it on 3, I'll chalk that up as a
And
acceptable loss.
yeah, no, thanks for saying that. And here's something else to consider is like Happy Corbin, great example.
Yeah.
I don't remember how to run Happy Corbin.
Yeah.
Like, and I ran a lot of Happy Corbin in my free to play 6-star like era. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, Rusty, I need you to make 30 videos and
Yeah.
most of them are going to be from the era of Dakota Kai, Happy Corbin, Shotzi. I'm gonna go. I haven't used those guys in months,
Yep.
not a year, right? And so to
Yeah.
sit down and try to mass produce that kind of content, I think it brain fries you after a little while. Things
It
start to
does a little
blur
bit.
together, and
Right.
there's so many intricacies of gameplay and the nuance
Right.
to where, yeah, if you're out there grinding with Happy Corbin, still you're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah.
he did it wrong. Yeah, well, it's been 2 years, man, since I.
Right. It has. I haven't even really used him,
Yeah,
even though I got his gear. In the 6-star bronze meta, Happy Corbin was a destroyer.
yeah, he
But yeah,
was.
I've moved on, and I don't. I used to hear Merrick say that, like, hey, I used this character for a while and I've moved on. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I just got Zombieanka. She's the best thing ever. But
Right.
now, like, going into 6-star gold meta, I probably won't use Zombieanka that much because
Wow.
the bleed
Wow.
didn't scale, and
Let
stuff
me
like
ask
that.
you,
But
let me just serve you a volleyball. Is this kind of feels like what the show used to feel like? First of all, me interviewing you on gameplay. Um,
back before YouTube days.
what observations have you made from the should you take blank to 6-star gold series? You've I would
Mhm.
say arguably you're close to 30 in that series. I haven't been counting. Are you over 30? Have you exceeded 30? My
I did
gosh.
20 the first week and
Yes.
16 the second, although I deleted the Zombie Becky video because it didn't turn the way I wanted to, and then I removed Cowboy Bob Orton because I did run him wrong. So
This is Lee GPT right here, the AI symbiote. Yeah, he's taken over. So, do you have any observations that you would say as I got into that series and as I made content for it, some things began to jump off the page to me?
yeah. Yeah, I've got a few, in fact, from that. So on the first hand, I said in most of the videos, top tier really is 60 million turn one. Like that's top tier. And I caught a lot of people who were like, hey, I'm not shooting for top tier. I don't
Right.
care if it takes me
Right.
2 or 3 turns. And the clarification of that is, I know, and I can say that better in the videos this week tomorrow when I sit down and make another 15 of them. But for the most part, that still holds true. If you want to play top tier, turn one in feud, etc., 60 million's the gateway. Like that's where it opens up. So if a character does 20 million, which what I'm finding is a lot of your B tier. And again, I know a lot of people have gotten used to saying the tiers only actually relate to their in-game shard rarity. And that is true. However, there is a bit of a pattern to them. Your B tiers consistently were hitting around 20 million, give or take,
Okay.
which is okay if you're not worried about taking 3 turns, or if they've got a sub, or if they've got, but again, for your
Right.
turn one feud players and stuff like that, that's not inconsistent. Like, so for example, Showboat KO. Merrick's mentioned when he came out, I will use him ahead of Regal in feud
Right.
every time.
Right.
However, in the 6-star gold meta, you've heard Merrick say, I'm using Regal again. Because
Right.
Showboat KO hits 20 million, Regal hits 300 million. But again, Regal is top
Yeah.
tier. Like that's a rare one. So
Right.
if you have Showboat KO as your main Showboat, that doesn't mean something is wrong. That's not bad.
I want to show you something. Okay, so these are my moments, right?
Yeah.
And I was waiting for you to bring up the A tier, B tier availability of shards
Right.
show to be the perfect segue. But here's a question for you. Like I'm looking at some moments that I do not have, right? And this is a C tiered moment, right? For example,
Zombie
Hell in
Cody.
a Cell Zombies 98, right? Or it's only an okay. Here's another great one. Zombies: Return of the American Nightmare. It's a B tiered
I
moment,
need
my
it.
friend, but it's B tiered. Why is
Right.
it? Why is it not in the Showdown shop? Why
Right.
does B tier superstar mean prominently available, but a B tier moment means snooze you lose, bro? We gave it away 3 years ago. You'll never get it.
Right. I would guess, because it didn't come during Zombie Outbreak, I would guess
Uh,
that in October that moment will become available. But yeah, that's what I have that same
What
question.
about the Rocky
Because it
moment?
definitely
How
does.
attainable was the Rocky moment? It's a C tiered moment, Lee.
Very expensive.
C
Very
tier. It
expensive.
says tier C,
Right.
meaning prominently available in game.
Yeah. Like everybody should have every C tier. Like that's the way that should work.
So yeah. So
Right.
that's where I can understand confusion when
Yeah.
we review or rate a character like a Devon Dudley and we say, well, he's A tier. He's doing
Right.
exactly what an A tier should do. And
Right.
and he was a showdown
Right.
superstar. So probably, a large percentage of you were able to recruit him this weekend. And
Right.
then some people are like,
What? What?
or even right, you even hear this. Well, I spent hundreds and didn't get him, or like
Right.
I just had the worst luck of all. I just kept
Yeah.
getting dupes. I kept getting fuses I didn't
That's
need.
Striker Devon.
There was no Devon. Yeah. So Devon's a great example of like A tier. That I thought that meant like
More accessible.
I thought A
Yeah.
meant available, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, someone
Yeah.
out there is just like shouting at their radio, yes, he's fighting my battle right now. This
Right.
is what I've been saying to my faction for a long
Right.
time. Anyway,
Yeah. No, you're right. But I think that the tiers actually, with a few notable exceptions, the tiers actually do hold up to at least give you an insight, because C tiers very clearly are not usable. I mean, we haven't, we power rated 2 of them.
what was
And
Dominic? What was Zombie Dom?
Zombie Dom is B tier in game, but he
Okay,
is S plus plus
right.
plus tier
That's
if
what I was
you
wondering
have
because
Zombie
that'd
Ray.
be a caveat, right?
Right.
Caveat.
Yeah, that's why I said with notable. So, for example, I took Zombie Dom to 6-star gold. That was my first tech move. And in feud, now there was a bonus with the green gems, but in feud, he was easily hitting 130 million. Like Easy. As long as you didn't, of course, pin him, because then it screws up his whole thing. That's his
That's
fatal
crazy,
flaw.
bro. That's wild.
But A tiers tend to be hitting in the 30 to 40 million range. S tiers tend to be hitting in the, 50, 60. But again, it very much depends, because like Hall of Fame Undertaker in game, that video dropped today. He is S tier, but in functionality, he's hitting more like a or B tier. But again,
Ooh,
those are,
with the
that's
Titan,
with the, yeah, with the
with the
Titan plate. Yeah,
Titan
he's
plate.
not. Well, because he hits his third color, his tertiary color. So, like,
Oh,
if he hit
okay.
red instead of blue
Right.
gems, it would
Right.
be a world of difference.
It seems like, and I want to get back to your observations on the Should You Take series, but it
Yeah.
seems like there's a segment of superstars now that are firmly solidifying their place as boss battle all stars. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure if the tier matters
Nope.
or even the damage matters because of the
Maybe.
multipliers and the way damage is exacerbated so greatly in boss battle. So, like, I could see, like, Hall of Fame Undertaker is a boss battle all star, right?
Yeah. They
Anytime
bring back blast gems.
blue or blast, there's a couple of things he does really, really well.
Right.
And the same could be said of a lot of what I would say a lot of those A tier or fringe strong B that aren't your maybe your feuders. Showboat KO is a great example of a boss battle all star with red and with reinforced gems. And yeah, like Lee said, okay, 20 million in a feud doesn't feel so good at 6 gold, but making 36 red twice feels really good in a boss battle. So
It
yeah,
does. Yeah, boss battle ignores tiers, it ignores metas for the most part. There is still some truth to it, like, ones that can do buffs and things like that still hold up better. Multi-gems still hold up better. But again, take the example you gave, or take Zombie Dom again. Zombie Dom has continually been one of the best characters in boss battle.
it really.
Or like Zombie Dragon. I don't think Zombie Dragon is going to hold up 6-star gold as much as I would like. I haven't tested him with that yet, but I am honestly thinking of taking him 6-star gold, even like this weekend, just because this boss again is unfreeze and purple gems. I have
Oh,
unfreeze, he's purple
yeah,
gems. Even though I may not be able to do the most amount of damage to them, I can flood the board with purple gems. I can usually break the shield
right.
one in my turn, like by myself. I can usually break the
Yeah,
shield with Zombie Dragon.
I don't remember. But does this boss have a 1.5 billion health again? Are they continuing to expand that boss health? Because and then does
Beyond
that
the
tempt you to want to have your 6 gold dragon so that he has a much higher health pool as well?
Yeah, I mean that is part of it, and the other part is I don't have the tricksters that would be world changers. I mean, Trickster Ali is one of the ones I did in the Should You Take series, and he was okay, but again, it's move damage based. He doesn't scale as well. So in terms of Trickster males, now Trickster females, I've got a lot, but Trickster males, I just don't have very many others that I'm rushing to get to. And so
Yeah,
a boss battle
same.
pick like that might be the safe and honestly best way
Hmm,
to go. So if you've got somebody who's got a max level breaker, they're worth taking 6-star gold if they show up in the boss battle hierarchy at some point. Like I say, the hell freezes over has been needed like almost every boss the last few times.
right.
So that's 100%. Whereas my Regal has like level 7 hell freezes over, which is not enough. It's
Okay.
not enough to bring into the team.
Wow. Let me share 2 thoughts on tricksters, and we'll get back to your observations on should you take 6-star gold. Observation on trickster one is they might hold a little more entourage value than other classes. I don't know if that's true, but it feels like the tricksters that I am pulling and am considering investing in are simply because of high value entourage. Specifically, this week, 6-star loot had Judgment Day Priest, it had Judgment Day Dom. I've already got a Judgment Day Rhea, all tricksters, all three phenomenal entourage abilities. And
Right.
yet I find myself saying, well, maybe that's their best place. Maybe 26K Max Entourage is their place. Maybe Botch God, Connecticut Blue Blood
Right.
is right. So now you're seeing like maybe Trickster is fun in the meta and valuable beyond the meta as Entourage, but maybe Tricksters aren't being made to transcend metas. Now, that's a thought, a theory, an observation. It could be wrong. It could be
Yeah.
based on my limited, like what I'm pulling at the time. But I can't seem to catch up with Trickster Entourage. And like,
Yeah.
there's so many I want to bring up that I need.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't need a Trickster brawler necessarily. I don't
I
need
would like one.
what
I don't know.
but of the ones I have, which
Sure.
leads me to my second point is maybe if I'm undecided on who to bring to gold, I should wait and bring no one and wait and see what comes out in the coming months as superstars are listen. I got Judgment Day Dominic and Priest yesterday, elated for them, excited.
Yeah.
I want them. I've been wanting them. But in reality, they came out in the 5-star gold meta. In comparison to what is coming out now, superstars have lower MP, higher damage. They're just they just the moves flow to. They're designing better superstars in 2024 than they were whenever these
2023.
jokers came out, 2023 or two even.
Two. Yeah, actually would have been two.
These are really fun and good entourage members, but like they don't compare to let's say Final Boss this month's, work to earn chase. They don't. There's no comparison. They can't do anything that Final Boss can do other than Dominic can turn the board yellow. That's fun. If we had a leech boss,
so can Final Boss.
Yeah. So then you get this thing of like, well, what's coming out next? Like maybe I do nothing. Maybe I don't rush that King of Pop style that that I don't have a plate for, and I'm not enthusiastic about him. Right? Maybe I go, I know it's not Andrade, but let's see what comes out next month.
Andrade's
maybe
terrible.
next month's. Yeah. So the first Trickster designed for the 6-star gold meta, I don't like. And so I want to see what's next. I think that is my play. I really do. I really think it's the play.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's not a bad move. Merrick's has said this a lot on there. You don't have to rush to take up old characters and use up all your resources when you know that new characters are going to be designed for the meta that they're in. So this month was a bad example with Andrade. Somebody asked if I was going to use him beyond this week, and I said I pulled him 5-star with gear week 1, and I still won't use him after this. Like,
I don't know that he does any one thing really well.
No,
like
he's slow, not powerful.
Battle, I think Trickster Bro might be a better boss battle. Someone to have in the reserves that can do things.
Yeah, very true. And I think that, I mean, the argument is what's the expectation that you're going to get new characters? So theoretically, we're going to know in a week, or we're going to know in a few days, actually, what next month's characters are. And we'll be able to see, we will have a video out. Make sure you check them out for our break it downs, like as quick as we can possibly get them out with doing them well. But theoretically, the free character from this next month ought to be, or is possible to be, better than some of your previous 5-star meta S tiers. Theoretically, we don't know for sure, but if you have somebody you want to take out, I mean, we've talked about it on the front of the show. There's a lot more resources available right now. I don't expect that they're going to continue to be that fluid, but there's a lot. So if you want to take a couple up to have them, that's great. Just don't handicap your roster. If you like, for example, I should be able to shard recruit Charlotte this weekend. I mean, it really, I'm watching this blog tonight very closely because I'm only about 180 shards away from her. And so I should be able to shard recruit her. But if I had used up all my technician tokens, I would be mad at myself because she goes 6 gold as fast as possible.
You used any of your MLC emblems to redeem anything off the four, the four gold emblems
I
in
did.
the
Yeah.
shards or not?
I wasn't I was strategically unstrategic. I always tell people wait till the end of the MLC, and I still hold to that.
Yeah.
However, I actually sacrificed both my gold coin opportunities and the other just because if I used one coin on getting Final Boss Rock, it opened up his victory tour. It opened up that weekend's contest, which had a lot of resources, had belts, had more shards, had more whatever. So it was a good move for me in that moment. But now, if I came down to only 50 shards left to recruit Charlotte and didn't have those tokens, I'd be going, but what I did save, because again, I pulled Andrade early on. I did save those 5-star, the ones that are from the weekly tour. So I have access to 100 shards of Charlotte there. So I should be able to guarantee myself Charlotte, but that means I don't take the Brutus plate. So that's a trade-off again there. But I think observations about this MLC, not just the videos we've been doing. This is the MLC format, if it continues, of choice. Because you had the opportunity to take one of 3 characters, and if
Right.
you're a lower scoring player, getting one of those 3 would have been. I mean, I know people who got the 6-star bronze Waller went, this is my first 6-star period. This is incredible. Or you could
I,
take shards because shard recruiting is the path, or you could take a plate, or you could take these 6-star gold coins. You had options, and that is never a bad thing. You can decide what's best for your roster and move accordingly. I love it. That is my favorite. I mean, that is why this is becoming my favorite format.
what you know what the options do though, Lee? The options move the culpable person from they Scopely to me personally.
Wow.
So we can't just be mad at them anymore, right? Well,
Right.
right. How often have you read that? Right? They screwed me.
Right.
But now it's gonna be like, no, pal, you chose to take those rock shards early.
Yep.
You chose the premium showdown. You will not get Charlotte because of your choice, right? So now that's suddenly a new narrative. Now I'm not saying you, Lee, but I'm saying
I know.
that's a completely new narrative that we've never seen in this game.
True.
No, you had a fork in the road in the decision tree that you made. What is the lesson you have learned, right? Because that's like when I took Piper, that's we forever harp on this decision.
Yeah.
Like it's my worst move in the game. It's not as bad as shredding an all heart plate, but it's my worst decision in the game.
I'm glad you can't do that anymore.
I brought that up because I heard you talk about it on a video I was watching earlier today, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I totally shredded the boss plate and the all heart plate," and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh,
Now I have them both again. So I've been restored, but I think maybe they listened to me say that in one of them and said, let's just take away the ability to remove plates. Let's stop that. Because I was like, ooh, you can recycle and you get 10. You got enough to move 1 plate. So I shredded those to move 1 plate, thinking
oof."
I'm never going to use all heart. It's not good on anybody. It's tech doinks plate. Who's going to use that? And then I regretted my decision.
Like Zombie Dom. It's great on Zombie Dom.
Oh,
So
there's so many. Yeah, yeah.
any
But
other
Zombie Dom
observation
is my pick.
from your Should You Take series? Any other burning sensations or desires?
That always trips me up when you say that. Nothing in particular other than just these were some of, or continue to be some of the most engaged by the community. And one thing I will say is we're getting a lot of comments. And I just want to give a real quick, because Hip Designer noted to me in a conversation that there was somebody in his server that said, I will not watch Champions Chat ever again because they don't respond to my comments on YouTube. And I was like, okay, One, I'm sorry. We try to respond to as many as we can. But secondly, let me help you just understand that we are not full-time YouTubers. I literally work 60 hours a week,
Mm.
have a family, do
Yes.
taekwondo, and then do this for fun. And so trying, like, I can't stay up at all hours of the day responding to things. So if you would like a more direct response, we still need you to comment on the videos. And I know this is kind of antithetical, me saying this, because that helps the YouTube algorithms and all that. And we just like to see your feedback. But if you would actually like to have some conversation, get on our Discord server, because there I am able to see, like, I'm able to respond when somebody at Night of the Sun tags me. I can see I need to respond to that person, or I need to have somebody, if I don't know, like I had McDuck earlier today say, like, hey, I don't know the answer to this question about Solo Sokoa to 6 gold. So could you answer it? And he did, which was amazing. But if you're expecting, like, hey, if you don't respond to me on YouTube videos, then you don't see me, you don't care about me. That is by far the case. I see you, I care, we love you. It's just literally a function of,
We
I'm
love
not
you.
trying to say I'm too busy. It's just my hours are limited.
Look into my eyes, commenters of the world. I love you.
I
I
love you.
love you. I'm brother love. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, of course we love you. Of course we are so
Yeah.
honored you would watch and then comment. Even the trolls. Thanks for trolling us. Thanks for watching
Yeah. It
and
actually helps sometimes.
thanks for having something fun to write. Have something fun for us,
Yeah.
you know.
No, but
Leave.
overall, people have been very respectful. And I even got a couple of comments. I'm going to fix a couple of the videos because I got some, like, one person messaged me and just flat out said, hey, I'm not trying to be condescending, but you didn't run drip coda right at all. And I was like, one, I've never had a drip plate. So I was kind of just showing it off just because I know so many do. But in most cases, and this is another observation too, and goes along with our friend Zorro, Sir Zorro, is people will say, hey, you didn't run the seance plate. Hey, you didn't run the drip. Hey, you didn't run that. Correct. We don't run those unless it's just a fun little, haha, look at this, because most of the community does not have that. And what I've tried to do when they're premium characters, I'll call out and say, hey, Striker Braun Breaker is a premium character. Therefore, I'm going to use premium trainers, because if you have him, you might have those. But if it's a more free to play character, even Dakota, I'm saying this is for the largest portion of the community that does not have those tricks. And so them coming to the video and seeing me using a drip is like, well, this isn't for me. I'm turning it off. Now, can I use it towards the back end of the video as a, hey, if you have this, then absolutely. But most of the time, we will not use Seance or any Ghostbuster plate. We will not use the drip. And I don't use the double MP trainers because a large portion of the community does not have them. And if you question that, I have a 9 million roster. I don't have a single double MP. That's the four, not the older ones, of course, but like Roxanne, Mello, and whoever, Braun Breaker. I don't have a single one of those. So therefore, putting those on the video is, and it's easy for you to go, oh, I have double MP trainers, so I can swap someone else in. Whereas it's a lot harder for someone to go, I don't have Braun Breaker. Who in the world would I put in that place? So that's a little
True.
bit of a just game theory. It's not
Yeah.
just a theory, it's a game theory.
Some people out there don't like content creators because
Because we're
they
a-holes.
no, that's not what I was gonna say at all. Because they better, they can build something better than we can
Mm,
build. And yet
yeah,
they're building for an audience of one,
right.
right? And they know their roster's intricacies, where we're trying to build for a pretty broad audience. And I think I pride myself on some levels about being we are content creators who are always for the half of the community that is looking for help to max
More
the
than half.
MLC,
Yeah.
how to run a superstar. So I always tell Lee, and like I think like we want to be kind of our faction leader calls us, try to be the blue collar content creators, right? We want to be for the free to play. We want to be for the community who's out
Yeah.
there trying to figure out strategy. Not that we have it all figured out, but we're just
Right.
sharing our findings with you guys. Also, I want to be the content creators who champion what the other content creators are doing, not
Yeah, because we love those guys and
over
gals.
what they're doing, right?
Right.
I'm not out to try to make better previews than Merrick's. I'm not out to start a free to play account, Dorothy account like Goldie. I'm
Yeah.
not out to demonstrate like, what's in the pools, even though I like to do pools.
Yeah.
DJ is so much, he has such a mind for pools and what's in them and tracking all that. And we just think, right, builds for
Yeah.
tours, Oros things. Benny is skyrocketing up the ladder with views. We've seen his content really catch fire. So we're for those guys. There
That's
are
right.
teammates that we really enjoy what they're doing, and we want you to watch their stuff. And we
Yeah.
want to be talking about what they've done. We want to use our little platform, as we've always done,
Mm.
feature everything happening in the community, and that includes factions, faction life, faction standings. There's a lot of content creators that's just not their thing, right? But we talk
Right.
about it a lot. There's anyway, I
Yeah,
think by now, but I think that's our thing. Our thing
I
is to
agree.
be in some. So Caitlin Clark, right, the greatest women's collegiate women's basketball scorer prolifically of all time, but she had a teammate named Kate Martin, and they called Kate Martin the glue, right? She
Mm.
wasn't Caitlin Clark. She wasn't the hot shot like Caitlin Clark was, but she brought them together as a team and was able to display and get the best out of all five girls on the court. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I think about, my role as a content creator is. I'm a Kate Martin. I'm not a Caitlin Clark. I'm not gonna be a hot shot. So
I'm not a Kate Middleton either. But I would say that I think yes, we do aim to better hit some of the free to play community, but we're not exclusive in terms of like whales don't watch us and stuff like that either, because there are things that we say that we enjoy that we do that allows for that community to speak in there too. But again, even just making that distinction of saying I'm not going to use a drip plate except for at the end of a build just to show it for fun helps, people, because here's where the whales I think can understand pretty well is that if we say something and show it lower, they can easily figure out how to get it higher. But if we show something way up here, people just go, that's out of reach. I
mm,
can't do that. So that's my 2 cents.
thanks, Lee. I know you got a lot going on this afternoon as I chew this piece of ice. Are you ready to talk about WWE TV, or do you have more stuff about the game?
Well, I think that it'll be interesting to see what's coming up next. I think if we can take 5 minutes and just say what are our predictions for next month, that would be good. But otherwise, yes, I do need to get back. So
So predictions for next MLC, which would go live next Monday, we're assuming, the blog. And what I'm noticing is they did a great job this month of taking everyone who's maybe at the top of the current WWE roster and featuring them, even though Triple H is not an active superstar. He's the boss now. This is the Triple
right.
H era. So he's the premier, most rare superstar this month to kind of
Yeah.
introduce 6-star gold. Final Boss Rock was one of the most talked about superstars on TV. Charlotte,
Yeah.
arguably at the top of the female roster. And then her husband, Andrade. Why not? Great
Yeah.
art. I don't know that there was that much of a cohesive connection. But Lee,
Mm.
what do you think about next month? I've gave you a little bit of time to talk by explaining
Yeah.
this for. Do you have any thoughts, theories, or predictions for next month?
Yep, I think that the format's going to stay. They might tweak it, but I think that as long as Scopely made money off of it, which it feels like they did, then they'll continue this format. And I think that is 100% the best thing. I'm not sure that the being able to buy the gold tokens will stay. I hope, but I think that that might start to trickle away a little bit. Although I do hope then that the challenge tours switch to gold tokens if they do that. But here's my four, and I'm kind of thinking as I go. Only four characters now, so we know. Woo! Yay! This is great. I think the free character is Striker Nia Jax. I think the A tier character is Powerhouse AJ Styles because they refuse to make an S tier AJ Styles. So why break that trend now? I think that the two S tier, or I guess one S and one S plus if they hold it. So I think the S tier character is going to be a version of LA Knight, but I'm not quite sure what they will do with that yet. And then I think the final character is going to be a new version of Gunther that is S plus tier. Those are guesses. I don't know any inside information,
Wow.
but I could see maybe a new powerhouse Gunther or a striker Gunther, but then double striker. I don't know. But those are my four guesses. And then in July to August is when we'll see the Summer of Champions voting people. So then we'll start to see your Bo Dallas and et cetera. So that's my uneducated guess. What do you think?
I think we're going to see a new Cody.
Again?
I think we're going to see the Cody that has finished the story. Right.
Oh,
I think we're going to see.
Trickster Stardust.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Even Tech Cody, right? He's like at least a year old. We have
Yeah.
like infinite number of Seth Rollins and Romans in the game. It feels like he's in that league.
Maybe Showboat Cody Rhodes.
That would be perfect. That would
Mm-hmm.
be perfect. And I would love that to be the attainable, grindable character that we have a chance at getting. For as far as a freebie, I would love for it to be a female. I would love to see my female roster is probably the top end of my female roster is probably better than the top end of my male roster at this point. At least the female flash feud seem to indicate that to me. And so I have Charlotte, and I'm glad she's rolling over that 99 MP another month. But I would love to see some female focus, and I think it could be Naomi. I think it could be Naomi. Welcome back, Tech Naomi, right? Technician Naomi. I think as far as who are we going to want to chase, who are we going to want to spend in the loot to get, I think there might be some another legend deep reach like a Muda where it just came out of nowhere. We're like, what?
Moon of Sean kind of thing or something.
I think, and here's a wild guess, is it I think it could be Yokozuna, someone that we just like. He was a world champ. He is better than the jobber that he is in game. I know he's a Hall of Famer,
right?
And I could see him being a big deal. Yeah, I don't know if I have another I guess prediction other than maybe who I'd like to see. Who I'd like to see be the premier chase, the one that we are like dreaming of getting would be Tiffany Stratton, right? Like
Afro Tiffany Stratton.
the Diamond Doll, like best female in the game. Like, why not? Let's get it going. We've got Jade, and we've got Charlotte. Now I think it's time to revisit. We've got, Zombie Becky. We've got the top of the women's roster all have top posters. So let's get a rookie in there. Or, I mean, just as impressive would be Lyra Valkyrie. Like she's been incredibly, I don't know, fun in a very short time.
Flattened.
But I'd love to see Tiffy time be like the one that we are. All of our dreams are fixed on Tiffy next month.
Their story. Well, we'll find out Monday. Oh.
Nice. Lee, you want to talk about WWE TV? I just have one story on that, or we can hang it up and
I'm good to talk for a few.
So after in the real world of professional wrestling this week, Lee, after USA's coverage ended, which I did not see this live, Liv Morgan planted a kiss on Dominic Mysterio and set the wrestling world on fire in this untelevised event. Lee, you know a little bit about the backstage world. Was this unplanned? Was this impromptu? Why would this not be featured on Raw on the national feed?
Right.
How does something of this caliber make it through? Did they slip it past the goalie? Did Triple H not know this was this a plan that they came up with in the gorilla position at the last minute? Lee, tell us about the kiss heard around the world.
Well, it's so much more simple than that. It was supposed to be planned for the last thing you saw as the title card went up, and it just went 30 seconds too long and the feed got cut. Now, it did not get cut internationally, so UK viewers got to see it, which is why we in the US actually know it exists because Wrestle Talk, What Culture, and WrestleLamia and those have all shared. But it was just a timing thing. It was just an unfortunate little oops that was 30 seconds off. If they'd have cut a minute from the match and then, ended, done that and then ended with her walking up the ramp or something, that would have been better. But fortunately lost it. I'm equally interested as to where that all's going to go because earlier in the show, Becky Lynch was talking to Lyra Valkyria, I think, and she mentioned about like you got to know when you win, you got to know when you lose, and you got to know when it's time to hang it up. And it was like, ooh, because her contract's up this week. If
Sure is.
Becky Lynch doesn't renew like today, tomorrow, she's a free agent. She could go to the other company.
Rehabilitating following a surgery, right? A shoulder surgery, I believe, or something
Who's
like
that?
that. Seth Rollins is out
Oh
post-op
yeah, but he
surgery.
renewed his contract.
Yeah, but he's at home in bed recovering, right?
Yeah.
Probably where she wants to be there with him and her child, and
She
maybe
could renew and take time off, She didn't renew. Not yet, anyway.
right. There's no way she's going, across the pond
You'd
to.
say that, but I don't know. I mean,
Ugh.
she would be featured there as one of the top fighters, whereas she's beginning to take the Legends role here, which is fair. But so we've got that wrinkle. But then she did tweet out or something about like, give me a few weeks and we'll finish this or something like that. So maybe she is just taking some time off. But again, you can do that under contract. And then you've got when is Rhea coming back? Because clearly they're building towards Rhea coming back as a baby face. They're building towards what's his name? Damian Priest, the world champion, getting his head stomped in by Gunther at SummerSlam. So you've got, or maybe even Clash at the Castle. I'd be fine with him losing at Clash at the Castle.
Gosh.
So
Um. So it's interesting the revenge tour, right? And now she has Rhea's title
yeah,
and Rhea's man,
yeah.
right? So is has revenge been fully served, right?
Mm.
There are other things she could be setting her sights on. Wrestle Talk had this interesting theory that she was going to try to take over Judgment Day and be
Yeah,
like leader of Judgment Day. And then my thought is, well, who would be in it? Who would be
yeah.
right? Is it
Dom, Carlito, JD, maybe Finn.
yeah? I mean, but um not Priest, right? And,
Right,
so like, and then it's like, would the Judgment Day just be super lame all of a sudden? Like if like JD McDonough is your muscle and a guy who spits an
right.
apple is your enforcer, right? And I'm just like, first of all, they should have left the apple back in 2001 or wherever he, dreamed that bit up. I don't know why he brought it back to WWE modern,
He
but it's
spits in the face of those who don't want to be cool.
an apple. And like, that's why I'm just like, come on. I don't know. I don't know. It's not doing it. It didn't do it then. It's not doing it now. And even if it's this thing, um, Lee, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that they're taking, how long did they build the Judgment Day opening
Yeah.
Raw every single week as the legitimate threat and the most dominant stable on Monday night? And now they are, maybe all that R-Truth and the Judgment Day stuff was the beginning of them not being taken seriously as top heels and being made sort of the comedy bit now.
Yeah.
This terrible ending with Braun Strowman running around his Strowman Express into JD, into Dom, into the cage, into Becky, this like domino effect. Um, it's, I mean, it's like clown car stuff, bro. Like I don't understand. And Strowman looks like dad bod Strowman. Like he wore these really strange like moonwalker sneakers for his match. He's clearly balding. He's a baby face who's really has no, what is he, just good old boy? Is that his gimmick? Is like, I'm just a country boy from Tennessee. Here's my
Mm.
little tattoo that says Tennessee. I'm just like, I don't get it. I want Strowman to be part of whatever it is that they're cooking up with Uncle Howdy. I want Strowman to be, you know, the monster that he is. Um, I'm not liking the direction of WWE TV at the moment.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not.
Interesting.
It just feels like they're burying people. It just feels
Hmm.
like they're burying people that they built up for a year, and now they're just burying them. And I don't get it. I don't get it. Like what it like I get Dominic's hurt, but like he could be, you know, a conniving valet, a conniving, you know, outside the ring presence, which they're kind
I was
of
gonna say it's
working.
kind of what they're doing. It's just he needs to switch allegiances to live, and then it can be like fully there.
Yeah, I just don't get it. There's too many variables right now for me, and I just have years of being a WWE fan that reinforced to me, when things look shaky, they probably are shaky, and it probably won't go very well. But
Interesting.
I need to learn to get past that. I need to learn to
Yeah.
get past that muscle memory in that former
Right.
regime.
Right. Well, I mean, just take Crown Jewel. I mean, we mentioned there was really not a lot of stakes for King and King of the Ring across the board, and yet it turned out to be a phenomenal show. It turned out to be Liv, winning the title, the wrong person winning Queen of the Ring, the right person winning King of the Ring. I mean, there were so many people who were convinced that either Tama Tonga was going to win, it was going to be a bloodline thing, or Randy Orton was clearly going to win. And I think in the previous regime, Randy Orton would have absolutely won instantly. But the fact that Gunther won and then is now King General, all that kind of stuff. And then, as much as I hate to admit, I still think Logan Paul would have been the better choice to win.
Oh,
They did such a good job. Like that match with Cody
it's great.
was one of the matches I like Cody better now because of that match. So like it was perfect. I mean, again, Logan Paul is proving, as much as we hate to admit it, that he is perhaps the best professional wrestler in the world today.
Hey Lee, why won't Gunther wear the crown on his head? Why does he
That is
carry?
a little bit weird. If you're gonna let him win, like, why not have him? Yeah, he's holding it. Like, this thing is beneath me and it's ugly, and
His head is so narrow that it may not actually stay on. Like he may need it resized, you know?
right.
Oh, it was really weird him just carrying the crown.
Yeah.
Kind of like a title. I don't know.
It
Uh,
is strange. And then the fact that Ludwig Kaiser is kind of still advocating for him, but they're not on TV together most of the time. And
Tiffany Stratton's IRL boyfriend.
no, lucky
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Well, no response. they haven't done anything with Chad Gable except dye Tozawa's hair black. It's not
Yeah.
blonde anymore. He is back to his natural hair color. He didn't
Back
go
in
to,
black.
he didn't go to Saudi, and they made
Right.
that part of the story. Tozawa
Yeah.
let him down. Um, is this building towards SummerSlam? Otis versus Gable? Is Gable gonna pull in any of our great ideas that we had about bringing up Chase U or moving up
Right.
to the Creed brothers? That was a great idea you had. What the heck
Yeah.
happened with Gable? Like
I'm
Sammy beat him again.
I know. Honestly, I mean, I appreciate Triple H's slow builds, but on the same time, there's just you got to pull the trigger. And they kind of had that moment with Sammy coming out telling Otis, you gotta turn on him, blah blah blah. And they didn't pull the trigger. It kept like he's got this like what is it, Munchausen syndrome or whatever, where you get beat so many times by the person that you just can't leave them because at least the abuse makes you feel something. Like that's kind of where they're going with this.
You start to protect your captor. You start to feel
Yeah.
connected to them in a
Right.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. Like that would have been the perfect time. So if not then when? I mean, if they build it up for another week, then sure, that'd be fine. But if it goes until what's next? I don't know. Like they do it at a pay-per-view, you got to wait another 3 weeks, you got to whatever. It just feels like there's a time to pull the trigger, and like right now they can pull the trigger and Otis will feel energized and
Yeah.
Gable will too. But if you don't, it's just going to be like, well, they finally did that. Oh
I
well.
I would say, since we're talking about, I don't really like what's going on TV, and I've been a huge advocate, enthusiastically enjoying what's happening on TV. But Bronson Reed is another one where I'm just like, I don't care about this guy. I don't. There's no. It's a low stakes enforcer. It doesn't have an agenda. He's not really earned anything. He's not really a credible threat.
Right.
Um, why do I care about him at all? And why does he keep showing up in the Intercontinental title scene? You know,
Yeah.
proving nothing. So I don't know.
I mean, again, I've said it since WrestleMania. I don't like the fact that Sami Zayn won that title. I don't think he needed it. I don't think it does anything for him. I think if Bronson, Jay, or really Chad Gable would have won it, I think the story they're going to go to is that Chad can't get it done. And then at SummerSlam, he has gotten rid of Otis and Maxine and Tozawa, or maybe Tozawa sticks around and then goes with Chase U, and then he wins it. And then it's very clearly like, ha, you see that I did this. I would love to see Otis get to the popularity point where Chad Gable wins the title and then Otis turns around and wins it like right away. Like that would be, I don't like hot shot booking so much, but I
Right.
would, Intercontinental Champion Otis would be something none of us expected, but it would be such a cool thing to see with the way they're building this.
Something that I don't know if you've had your finger on the pulse of at all is they introduced the Women's North American Championship on NXT this week. They
Okay.
revealed the belt is gorgeous. It looks identical to the men's belt, except it's on a white strap. And they are, I believe, going to crown a Women's North American champion in Vegas at Battleground. All that to say, Lee, are we seeing there being a need for more women's titles? And is the women's division actually growing in a way that the men's is not at this point?
Hmm. I think the women's division has been more interesting for the last couple of years. And I mean, certainly, I think there's an argument to be made that there should be an intercontinental level women's belt. Certainly there's the main title on each show. There should be a secondary, even if it's shared across brands or whatever they do with that. So maybe that's kind of a step towards this, but it feels like of all the places you should have less belts, it's NXT. You've got the much smaller roster there. The only thing that does is just gives, you can say, oh, they called up Roxanne Perez and she is X number of times a champion because they are recognizing NXT championships in the category of did they win a belt. So I mean that's the only thing. But yeah, I mean that's cool. I like the idea. I just think it should be a main roster belt, personally.
I've been wondering if they're going to make this belt a um, similar to the women's tags, where you can
Yeah.
defend it anywhere. That always feels like a stretch too, but
Yeah.
I'm very interested in what happens. I think there's some really outstanding talent in NXT that there's not enough space on the main roster for, unless they begin to diminish the uniqueness of all of these women and make them tag teams.
Right.
There is room. Katana, what's her name? Chase
Katana
Carter.
Chance and
They're
Caden Carter,
they
Casey
are
Catanzaro.
they're a great example of two women that could not, I think, flourish as solo stars.
Mm,
And so I wonder if it's time to start looking for which females would be a better tag team, make a better tag, and build a quote, a gimmick or a brand together with another woman, the way the Creed brothers have. Like, I wouldn't care
yeah.
about Julius Creed on his own. I don't care about Ridge Holland on his own. Some guys need a partner. Some guys
Yeah.
need someone to complement their skill set. Like, when the rumor was that they were going to break up the Street Profits and have Montez go on his own,
Mm,
um, in hindsight, now I'm glad they didn't do it, because I still love the Street Profits as a tag team. I love them um, as a culmination of gifts that they share together. Anyway,
mm.
so I think that's it for me, Lee. There's a lot to watch now that we're building towards SummerSlam, and now that we're building towards, will Clash at the Castle actually be a major PLE? I don't know, but we'll see. But there's a lot of build. There's a lot to be watching and to see what develops.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for joining us on the WWE Champions Chat podcast. Rumor is we might be doing this live on Twitch coming up soon. So be aware of that. It'll still drop on YouTube, it'll still drop in Apple and Spotify podcasts. And for those who don't know, we are content creators for a game called WWE Champions. It is the best WWE, nay, wrestling game that is out there. So I know a lot of you for the PlayStation are going to be getting Fight Forever as the free thing this month. It's not even worth considering that compared to Champions. Just saying.
Yes.
We love you. We very much appreciate this community. We haven't said it in a while. You matter
I love
more than you
you.
know. What's that?
I love you.
Love you. Bye, friends. That was weird.